Okay.
So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. Thank you for registering for the Healers United Global Summit. My name is Heather Ellis Drake, one of the hosts, and my beautiful sister, Ginny Jones, is our second host. Emerging leaders, I call this beautiful summit. 20 committed, heartfelt people who are bringing a completeness for the seekers in this world. I'm honoured today to present to you our beautiful Hazel Moore, and she is our number 14 on the list today. Thank you, Hazel, for being here.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
Hi, Hazel. Well, I'm just going to say a few words about you because you've been doing some awesome, wonderful work out there. So, Hazel, this is for all our viewers here. Hazel is an internationally known intuitive alchemist. She's a leader of great change, a mentor, a teacher, and her ultimate goal is for people to have wonderful transformation in this new golden age that we're in. Hazel teaches people how to turn their lives around. She is working solely from the heart and moving into oneness and unity consciousness. She's an acting conduit and guide for many people. She safely realigns, often in life-saving situations, to restore joy and natural balance for people. She is a wonderful person, and her ability as a natural healer, she manages to get to the root cause of what's going on for individuals and completely turns things around for them in a wonderful transformational way. And as she does this for you, she is completely present with you the whole time, making sure that everything is done in a safe, perfectly safe environment. And that's Hazel, one of our wonderful, wonderful healers.
Thank you, Hazel. Hazel, I'm just going to ask you a few questions for our viewers that are listening in here. And we're just going to take our time, because the heart that you have for humanity, you know, it's going to come through when I ask you these beautiful questions that are presented to us to ask you. Hazel, could you please tell us a little bit about your journey and a little bit about your story, please?
Well, my journey into awakening began over 30 years ago now, and I literally wanted to be a better person. I really didn't like how I was showing up in the world. You know, I was completely disconnected from my divine self, my God, my spirit. And so I sat down on my sofa one day and I just wrote a list of what I felt was missing from me. And I've still got that list. But the yearning in me to be more than I was great. And looking back now, I can see that that yearning hit a vibration in me because I wasn't pretending. It really hit the core of me and opened my heart. And I know that because the very next day I started to see colours everywhere. And as I concentrated on the colours, I saw forms, people stepping out of the colours to communicate with me. And I was not afraid. I just knew that something absolutely beautiful was going on with me, and that it stemmed from my wanting to be a better person. So from that day, my spirit team have guided me and taught me every step of the way. They taught me about myself first. They taught me about my human self, how my human self was wrapped up in thoughts and emotions, giving no thought to peace and love. So from there, I was guided to learn more about the human psyche, human nature, and so on. And so that is my journey up until today. And of course, we unfold every step of the way. It doesn't stop. There's more and more and more beauty to come. But I was told by the first soul that stepped out of her colour in my sitting room, that he was going to take me on a journey. And when I look back, I thought the journey was like a train journey, you know, or something like that. And I used to have this inner blush when I realised it was a journey to God. He took me to a journey to God. And here I am now with the light that I know as God that flows through me freely. It is the creative force. And it's only able to flow through me freely because I have atoned for everything that I was ever ashamed about, that I was ever angry or filled with rage about. And that atonement, that at one moment brought me at one with my spirit, which is God. So here I am today, able to, with deep compassion, because I've been there and done that, the toxic shame and everything, I've owned it and I've embraced it. And that then means that God can flow through me to touch other people, whether that's momentarily in the supermarket or whether they come to me for a full-on session. So that's my journey. That's my old story. And I want to take the world into a new story, because everything's a story. We are our story. But we are on the threshold of a new story for humanity. We're just done with that old story of separation. We really are.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Could you please explain also about separation consciousness, please?
Well, separation consciousness is where the human self and the divine self are not flowing in harmony together, where the human part of us, some people call it the wounded child, but I like to call it the human self, where it's I, me and mine. We're just totally focused on ourselves and we're projecting that out into the world as who can help me, what can I get for nothing, you know, all those kinds of stories that we have. So it's I, me and mine is separation consciousness. We're absorbed with ourselves and our own story, and we're projecting out there the shame and the blame and the anger onto everybody else out there. So essentially that is separation consciousness, the human self completely asleep to the higher aspects, you know, of our beautiful self, our divine. And it shows up in many, many ways.
It does, doesn't it? And unity consciousness, please.
Well, unity consciousness is stepping over that bridge of consciousness from 3D, the human self, while we're still walking about in our beautiful bodies, and stepping into we, us, and ours, sharing rather than competition, collaboration rather than, oh, you mustn't know any of this, I've got to, you know, have all the cake, not share the cake. So it's we, us and ours is unity consciousness, where as divine humans now, we can live in a win-win situation for everybody, coming from the 4 cornerstones: peace, love, joy and courage, because these traits are divine, they are not human. And when we start to understand the difference between what is human and what is divine, you know, the jigsaw just all comes together and the light goes on and we get it. And the heart only knows how to share, doesn't it? The heart only wants to share and give. It doesn't operate any other way. So if we're operating from sharing and giving, we know we're in unity consciousness. We just know it.
I always say that the heart knows no hidden agenda, has no agenda.
That's true.
And all it knows is peace, love, loving kindness, harmony.
Absolutely.
I like that. I really liked how you explained that, so thank you. So what are the first steps in this process that the viewers can take into, well, what do they expect from you? What will they expect from you? Because they're all seekers out there that are listening to this summit. the process that you take people through?
Yeah, well, when somebody first comes to me, I'd like to say that I give everybody a free full-on session so that they can get to know me, how I work, and trust the process. So they come to me and I meet them where they're at in their lives, right in that moment. And usually there's an inner conflict going on, an inner struggle, and thoughts and emotions that are just like boulders, you know, kinks, knots, holding them down. So they've got some sort of emotion going on and they really don't know how to get a handle on it, but they want to. They yearn to. So I will look at their energy, and without disempowering them, I want them to have full empowerment over themselves. So I guide them rather than tell them. And if I see that they are stuck because their life has kind of made their voice low and voiceless, you know, they've been not seen or not heard, I will then trigger things off for them, and that brings something up. So we start there with what is brought up, and from there we dissect the emotion, we trace it back to where the thought and the emotion, which is a limiting belief, first began. And you can bet your bottom dollar it's always in the childhood, you know, their young years in a small body. But I always remind them you had a small body, but you're a magnificent soul, getting used to the apparatus of that tiny vehicle, and that they've come to meet their tribe, which is their mum and dad and their siblings, and 9 times out of 10 the consciousness of the tribe they're born into is faulty, is dysfunctional somewhat because of the journey of the tribe so far. And they start to get memories, and I take them into their subconscious with, you know, a little kind of visualization, and every step of the way I'm asking how their bodies are resonating to what is being said and heard by them. Because to me, the body must resonate, they must begin to feel something, or it's not their truth. Because we're here to change ourselves, our memories at a cellular level. So the body intelligence must be included. So every step of the way I'm checking that they are relaxed, because if they're relaxed, they're expanded. If their body is tense, they're contracted, and their energy cannot flow. So their memories are still kind of frozen, you know, in the auric field and in the body. So we go through that journey, and my job, if you like, is to make sure they're relaxed, that they're not tense in their jaw or their throat or anywhere, and that they allow themselves to express what is coming up, either through tears, through yawning sometimes, or through even getting angry, or I get them to move their body when I see that their arms want to move, or I might say to them, I want you to go in your kitchen and I want you to stamp out, and then I want you to come back to me. It's on Skype. If they're with me physically, you know, we together. So we've got all that was stuck, thoughts and emotions in the body, loosened up, ready for the real work to begin. So, and I get them to sound out what is stuck in them, not necessarily through words, but through a sigh or whatever. Let's get this out.
So they're fully participating in this journey.
Absolutely, because that is the empowerment, that they know every step of the way, that they are in full control, that they know what is happening, and they recognize the memories and the resonance in the body, and it starts them on their journey to being a sovereign being. And
sounds like a wonderful step to have. Really does, yeah.
Yeah, and one session, you know, really gives the people a real kickstart onto where they are at, because often people will say to me, I don't have any feelings. I said, what do you mean? Because even being numb is a feeling, and they just don't kind of get it, that being numb is a feeling of suppression or denial or whatever. And people are so separate from their feelings, which, you know, is they're only half alive by living that way. They're just half alive, which is a tragedy, because as we all know, you know, there's so much more for us to enjoy and to be our natural selves. I don't want to say our normal selves, because to be natural is to flow with it all. And we're still here to have a human body, but we're here to let the divine flow through us, so that the divine God expands through us, because we are on the cutting edge of creation, because we are in this dense human body, and it is a dense body, but it can be made less and less dense, more refined. But we're still here to enjoy this beautiful backdrop that we call planet Earth. And as we expand through joy, so God expands, so the universe expands. And if we're contracted and full of fear, you know, those human traits of, you know, lack and anger and rage and grief and sadness, so we contract. So God can't expand and grow through us. And then we begin to realize, my goodness me, there's magic going on here. You know? And it is so beautiful to get people who come to me to that place. And it's such a homecoming, you know, a spiritual homecoming. I am home. I am safe in my skin. And anywhere I go, my body is my home. And then that leads them on to understand that their aura is other parts of themselves, and that is their house too, but in expanded version. And they get to understand that there is a level of them where their thoughts and their emotions play out in pictures. And we meet that in our dream state. You know, we either have nightmares or we have beautiful dreams, you know, but we're still meeting ourselves. But it looks like and feels like other people. And sometimes, you know, the people that I guide, their aura is a chock-a-block with people, but it's all parts of themselves. So we have to recall all of that is, you know, the fragmented parts. So we go through that phase where everything is pulled together within their bodies, within their heart. We do it from the heart, because we cannot transform ourselves from that place of anger, that human place. We must be in the heart, because the heart opens to the light, which is God, and it is God that transforms. Humans cope. God transforms us. So I need to get my people to that place of joy, to that place of love within them. Even though all that other stuff is going on, they don't have to engage in that. It can be there. And we can be up there on that higher octave of love and joy, because it is the joy that is that high vibration, that when it flows through the body, it transmutes, alchemizes those leaden, heavy energies. You know? And so it's transformed from that true place within. And that is so important, because otherwise all we're doing is smoothing things out for a little while. You know, we're just feeling okay. They go away and they feel good for a week or so, and then they might come back and say, "But I'm just the same. I'm in the same place where I was last week." Well, of course you are, because the solution is to be found from love and joy and compassion. First of all, for ourselves, you know, then our families, and then the whole world.
You know,
beautiful.
I was in the story, excuse me, as you were sharing. I'm right in the story when someone is sharing with me, and I know personally myself, the people who feel love for the very first time, joy for the very first time, sorrow for the very first time.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What a gift you are.
When you see someone open up.
Yeah, it is. It's just magical. And, you know, we're on the cusp of, you know, all of humanity coming this way with us, you know. And it's like the prodigal son. It's the parable of the prodigal son. You know, we all left, you know, that divine place, and we went into separation consciousness, and we've gone as far as we can go as a species to that nth degree of pain and suffering. And so now we can't go any further. We have to uncreate and collapse everything that we've created, you know, which is facing ourselves, you know, and being okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
We're in it together, and we're all coming out of it together. And, you know, it's a joy to bring people back home to
That's
themselves.
why these summits like this are so important, because there's a lot of people out there that actually don't know where to turn for help. So it's things like this, and being seen out on the internet is, you know, because as we know how consciousness and soul heart works, people are drawn to the right person who's going to help them. So it's a case of being seen out here, and of course the more that we can be, the more we can actually help waken people up, change the mass consciousness, and it's a roll-on, knock-on effect, isn't it? And it's absolutely vibrantly wonderful to be involved in it. That's how I feel. It's just absolutely magic. Yeah.
It is. You know, we've all stepped up to the plate. All of us, we all came to do this. We know that. As Heather, and I love it that she calls us emerging leaders, because that's what we are. The time is now. Now, when I awakened, you know, like over 30 years ago now, it was for me the spiritualist church and so on, and we won't go there anymore. But that's all there was. There was no internet, and, you know, everything I did was offline, and people came to my home, and then the internet became global, and everything spreads like wildfire. Even though right now there's just the three of us speaking, it's going out into the ethers, even though no one else is like plugged in digitally right now. It's still going out there, and next year, the year after that, this is going to be there in the spacious present, what I call the spacious present. And, well, you know, I thank God for the internet every day. And when I learned about the internet, how it's created, I thought, nobody owns it. Isn't that a gift from God? Nobody can own it. They can try all they like to own it, but we're getting our word out. No one can stop us. And it's like, you know, we had to wait to do it, you know, at the level we're doing it now, for the internet to be born. And then I won't go into the technical aspect, but we all had to learn that. And oh my goodness me, but we're prepared to do what it takes, you know.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I said that we have been in the trenches, and we paved a way for the up and coming people, the seekers. And I am total gratitude for my computer. I call it God. everything that I do is for the grandest purpose of another human being.
Yes.
And I have one more question that I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. What is the spiritual magnetic north and the golden age you speak of, and how did it come about?
Well, the spiritual magnetic north grows into the spiritual true north. Now, the magnetic north, as we know, you have a compass and you have the magnetic needle, and it swings around and it goes to the magnetic north. Now, it's well known that when you understand about compasses and so on, that in many parts of the world, geographically, literally, that magnetic north is somewhat off. It can be up to 25 degrees off, okay? Now, the true magnetic north is when you align that compass that can be off somewhat to the true magnetic north. Now, many people are spiritual seekers, are spiritual magnetic north. They're a bit off. They're a bit off, and they just need a guide to bring them to the true spiritual north, which to me is the word of God. It is the teachings of the great prophets. Mine happens to be Jesus, but, you know, That's not a religious thing. It's the Christ within me that opens up in my heart. So that is the true spiritual north. When we are guided by the word, the spoken word. And lots of us are following the magnetic north, especially, can I dare say, the New Age spiritual speakers. They're just slightly off. They're getting there, but they get off track. They still get drawn into that 3D matrix, you know, with the pull of some of the emotion, with the need to fix, the need to serve. So to me, you know, they're on the right track, but they're on the magnetic north, so they're a bit off. And we need to really, you know, get to the spiritual true north, which is the Word of God. So it's not a religious thing, it's a spiritual term that I happen to truly love. Because I follow my compass, my inner compass, and in my heart is the light of God. And I live from here, literally. And if I feel that I'm coming out even this far from my true north, I know I'm getting off track. I know, I feel that I might be overpowering someone, or I might be disempowering someone or whatever. And I know, Hazel, you're coming off. Come back to the true north. Relax, because I get so enthusiastic, so excited. And so that is my true magnetic north in me. This light, there's literally a light in me. And I don't want any part of my ego structure, my mind, in other words, to lead me astray, you know, and I see that in other people, and I say, let's just do a bit of tweaking, a little bit of refining.
Wow.
And back.
Wow.
Oh, that makes sense, how I've explained
how you explained it makes it so sensible. It's sensible. It's sensible.
Yeah.
For me, it's the same, but the way that you've just explained it, if I feel a pull and it's leading me over off my track, you can feel the pull, and it's like a no, get back, get back, get back, get back, Heather, get back. And I've just been writing about the pull and how we can be entrapped.
Yeah.
In that pull, and it takes you off, and it's taking you way out there, and then you flounder where 3D living, you can feel it, and you become so vulnerable and so scared, because I didn't know anything about spirituality until about 6 years ago, wasn't it, Ginny? From my journey, waking up and from being in the presence of God, and you know, I was blissfully in the innocence of just doing my thing in love with God and love with beauty that surrounds me. And I thought everybody could see it. I didn't know anything about the matrix, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. I didn't know anything of that. I just saw miracles abound from the fingertips. And yes, there was a lot of things that I walked away from, and I disappeared from humanity. And the reason why I'm speaking about this is exactly what you said. Then I started to meet people. I came back into humanity. Then I started feeling this pull that was taking me away. Wasn't taking me away from God, but it was taking me away. And how is it that I'm supposed to live on planet Earth? How do I, after being in the company of God, how was it that I'm going to live here in this density? And I speak about the pull. It was taking me away. So I was becoming lost. And so this is where I share the journey. So what I've done in the last couple of years is I've turned my back on everything. And even to this day, if something's annoying me or I can feel the pull, I have to turn back into who I am.
Isn't it amazing how our journeys, in that respect, very similar, but so different in lots of other ways? Because I feel the same. As a child, I was that child that you know, why can't we give that man who's begging on the street what we've got in our pocket? Let me give, you know, I was always going up to people and giving what I had as a child, thinking that was normal and that's how you should be. But of course, as you grow up and you mix at school and you become a teenager and all these other things, you just get off track of your full, natural, loving self, really, to survive in the human world. And it's not until a reawakening or something happening, like for you, Heather, what happened to you, or just that, like you, Hazel, that knowing, that pulling, that you need to get back, you're searching for something, and then finally you realize and you find it, and it's like, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. This is it. This is just so awesome. So similar to all of us, but in so many different ways, you know.
Yeah.
And what I like about this interview with you, Hazel, is that you have brought clarity.
Yeah.
In the most simplistic way that people are able to understand it. Absolutely. And that's what I honour about you. That's what we've been searching for. I mean, this is what the summit is all about. And I'm grateful that you are here today. And I'm grateful that Ginny and I were able to create the space for these exposing, emerging leaders, soft and strong. So thank you deeply. So now we're going to get to the end of our interview with you. Hazel Moore, you have a Facebook that people are able to connect you with, but there's a couple of other questions I want to ask you first. You have Hazel Moore's Spiritual Mastery as your Facebook page, and people can contact there. And of course, I'm going to put all the information for you to be directed to her up on here. And of course, your beautiful website, which is www.hazelmoore.net. And there you are able to connect with her through email, will be through there. Is there anything that you would like to say to the viewers here?
Yeah, I'd like to add actually that I've just started every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern time, that's 5 p.m. UK time. Every week I'm giving an hour or so on like a Google Hangout where people can come and ask me anything, you know, that's troubling them or they don't quite understand. And they can come in the chat room and ask me questions and I will answer that along with a dear friend of mine called Jeffrey. So that's a good place for people to start and get to know me and bring their whatever they want to the fireside chat. We're calling it a Spiritual Mastery fireside chat. So hopefully many people will start tuning into that, and there's a recording as well. So that's something that I can just do because I can, you know, because I want to. But yeah, and my website, there's lots of free stuff on my website that people can enjoy, and it will really help them to shift their really valuable tools and some meditations and so on that people can enjoy. And then, of course, book whatever they want if they want a session with me or whatever. It's all on the website. My public figure page on Facebook, good place to connect with me. I always, always, always answer everybody. So, you know, that's another place.
And what would be your final words for the seeker out there that is listening to this interview? A pearl of wisdom.
Yeah, I would say that no matter how defiled you feel, whatever you've gone through, that you are so ashamed of, you're never going to be left behind. The spark of God lives in you and through you, and it is your saving grace. So reach out to people like myself, to everybody else on this summit, and to Heather and Ginny, because we are all in the same boat and we're all going home together. So please remember that no matter how defiled you feel or how ashamed you feel of whatever, that spark of God lives in you and through you as well.
Thank you, thank you. On the behalf of Ginny and myself and the Healers United Global Summit, we say thank you, Hazel Moore, for being on with us here today. And we say goodbye. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.